This is the Second Studio, hosted by the Architecture and Design Office fame. My name is David Lee. I am a partner at the office and, of course, host of the show. And today my guest is Dave Prutting, the founder and owner of Prutting and Company Custom Builders located in New Canaan, Connecticut. Dave recently published a book called A Builder's Life Done Well, the story of Prutting and Company, and essentially it's a reflection on his 50 years of experience building houses. This conversation with Dave flew by. He has all kinds of interesting stories and insights and words of wisdom in the book and in the show, in this recording. And I think that really we kind of talk about ways that projects can be executed better and more efficiently, and basically advice for everyone involved, from the GC to the architect, and then also including the client. It was a wonderful conversation. The work he does is phenomenal. As you'll hear in the recording, he's worked with a lot of really well-known architects such as Toshiko Mori, Stephen Hall, and the list goes on and on. I think you guys are going to enjoy this one. Sponsors. This episode of The Second Studio is brought to you by BQE Core, the all-in-one firm management software built for architects. Designed by architects for architects, Core helps you track time effortlessly, manage projects seamlessly, and get paid faster so you can focus on design, not spreadsheets. With powerful automation and real-time insights, it's everything you need to run a smarter, more profitable firm. See how BQE Core can transform your practice by clicking the link in our show notes. Available with Revit version 2023.1 onward, Autodesk Insight is a next-generation carbon analysis tool that can help you make the leap to low-carbon design. With only a few clicks, Insight lets you analyze, understand, and track the embodied and operational carbon impact of your design choices. You can then visualize opportunities for energy efficiency and carbon mitigation with its flexible dashboards, helping you make more sustainable and informed decisions. Check out the Insight link in our show notes to find out more. This is the Second Studio with myself and Dave. Here we go.
Well, let's start with the background. I'm from Connecticut. I'm a Connecticut Yankee. I've lived in other parts of the country, but I'm back here now, have been for 50 years. Grew up in a little town called Ellington, which is up in tobacco growing country, believe it or not, near Storrs, Yukon, not too far. I remember grading through dirt piles and creating roads and visualizing that. That's about my only early recollections of construction-related things. And I outlined it in the book. I went to Syracuse University in the late 60s, which was a very tumultuous era, to say the least. And after 3 years, I left college without a degree, being sort of unsure what my next move would be or my career path, and not feeling any particular direction. So I ended up in Cape Cod, Mass, eventually, after a year or so on the road, and fell in with a builder named Arthur Finley. They're still out there in Orleans, Mass, which is the inner elbow of Cape Cod, which is shaped like an arm. They were blue bloods. They were, 15, 17 generations in that little community. And I worked for him for like 4 years. So why did I do that? Because when you're on Cape Cod, you're either a fisherman, a constructor, a builder, a carpenter, or you work in restaurants. There aren't any other. There really aren't any other options. Yeah. So I did all three eventually, part time of all. But and that was fun. I mean, I was a big, strong guy, and they put me to work. And we had a small crew, 4 or 5 people. We would do the whole deal. We would build the houses, do the interior trims and fit outs.
Do everything.
Basically, all the staircases, we would finish. We would frame and finish and trim finished staircases. Again, these are Cape Cod style houses. They're not elaborate or difficult particularly. But and when you drive around that part of America, where housing goes back, 200-300 years in cases, and you see the beauty of these sagging
Mm.
cape and half cape houses. It's impressive, and their way, the Yankee way, they're dutiful and committed to construction and the way they do it. So it was a really good apprenticeship for me. And then from there, as I mentioned in the book, I ended up in Houston, Texas, because things were slow in the Cape.
Hmm.
And I was good at roofing, and so I got some jobs roofing, and for a couple of years that was my main calling. And again, I had a background where I knew how to do more than that, so started building garages and requests that people would make of me, and then remodeling eventually, and sort of segued into this self-employment, and which I enjoy. I like being my own boss, and then eventually latching on to bigger and better things through groundwork and
Mm-hmm.
doing what you do and do it well, and somewhat ambitious, always looking for better and bigger and more lucrative work. So, and then what was the second part of your question? That's my background.
I don't
I
remember.
forgot.
I don't remember. I don't remember. I forgot also. Let me ask though. So when you were at Syracuse, you didn't necessarily have an agenda while at school that you would end up doing anything in construction, it sounds. I think you mentioned in the book that you were an English major initially.
I was. I
Okay.
was absolutely. To answer that, absolutely not. Um, so again, it's sort of something you fall into when you're unemployed without any particular aspirations, and it's fun. Listen, once I got into the building trade, that's something about being physically exhausted at the end of the day. Sometimes drinking a cold beer, shall we say, after work and then sitting there and looking up at what you've done
Mm.
and the reality of creation is very satisfying. And I've always enjoyed that part of it, even though nowadays I don't. Obviously, I'm done with the hands-on part of this business,
Hmm.
and pretty much have been for 15 odd years. But yeah, it's a very satisfying feeling of being physically somewhat worn down, but mentally fulfilled
Mm.
because you're doing something and you can see what you're doing. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I did. It's never been my primary aspiration, and I frankly was never satisfied that this is the career path I ended up on. It was always somewhat something I viewed as a default, like, well, I'm not skilled enough to do other things, so
Right.
this is how I make a living.
Well, that's
So that's the truth.
that's an interesting thing to say because we'll talk and when we get into the recording further about your words of wisdom for others who are client architects and fellow contractors. But it's an interesting thing for you to say because it's not an easy gig, what you do, and
No.
it's not for everybody. Well, it takes a unique skill set, but it also takes a lot of dedication for the architect, the contractor, all of us to do a good job. And so, let me ask, what would have been the career that would have I don't know, that maybe was more expected in your mind?
Good question. I have an easy answer. Writing books, writing.
Really?
I enjoy writing and reading. Um, that would have been, in fact, my parents were always like, well, Dave, you're so creative and you wrote so well. And so, that might have been an alternative career path that, you know what? Even at 76, maybe it's not too late.
Yeah. uh, that is an interesting, oftentimes juxtaposition between someone who has that mindset or that track and that skill set versus being a contractor. Um, when you look back at your career, is there anything about those two sides that informs each other? Like, do you think that your ability to write, your interest in writing, somehow informed your success as a general contractor?
Another good question. And I do, because my interest in reading took me everywhere. And I would spend many an evening here in my office, wherever I was working from, looking at internet and Instagram. And I remember pursuing a few architects, one named Thomas Pfeiffer, right? Is
Pfeiffer.
that a good name?
Yeah, New
Yeah,
York.
Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
I remember specifically tripping over a job he did up here in the Hudson Valley area in New York, where we do a lot of work.
Hmm.
And it was like, wow, this is radical. This is different. Um, so, specifically to answer your question, the reading and learning about the world and through internet and magazines. I have a collection of fine home building magazines that go back, seriously, like to issue number 5 or
Oh my.
way back. And I remember that was the first magazine that was specific to what I did.
Hmm.
And the television shows like This Old House were like,
Yeah.
wow, these guys they know what I do, and they can help me become better at what I do. So diving into literature, everything I could read about my career, even though I wasn't totally satisfied with being this. Um, so back to the Vipers thing, it was this house that they did up in the Hudson Valley that was like, wow, that is radically different. That interests me. And I recall reaching out to him, which I've done often with other projects and architects whose work I've seen and intrigued me. And I'm not shy about writing an email and say, look, I'm here. And if you need help in my area, please call. So I'd say that's how we sort of branched out and sort of what necessitated that, I'll say,
Hmm.
is I'm here in Fairfield County, Connecticut. This is the home of the McMansion,
Hmm.
the large colonial, semi-colonial, Georgian,
Hmm.
whatever style you want to describe it, big, multiple rooms, 7, 8, 9,000 feet, ornate, decorative,
Hmm.
somewhat. And it was hard to compete here with more established people with bigger portfolios.
Hmm.
So I was looking for a niche wherever I could find it. And like the Viper right turn sort of kicked me off a different direction. Like, hey, how about some of these people that are designing things that are, not orthodox, not traditional?
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with, orthodox or traditional architecture and construction, and we do that as well, by the way. But I did manage to meet some new people and that have a different aesthetic, and you see a lot of that in this book.
So, okay. So let's go back, going back a little bit. So you move out to break out on your own in Texas initially,
Hmm. Yep.
and so when you came out west, let's say, did you also work for anyone else to start with, or that was also that also coincided with you starting your own gig?
Uh, Another good question. When I hit town, and my buddy up in Houston, up in Cape Cod, who was from Houston, he told me there was, construction jobs everywhere. This would have been, 19, let me think, like 19, early 70s anyway.
So
And
how
there
old were
was,
you
there were,
how old were you just for a frame of reference?
let me think. I got married at 25, 26. So back up a year. I was 25, 24,
Okay.
25
Okay.
when I arrived in Houston, and sure enough, there were jobs everywhere. And I had my tools sets, and I had driven down there. I had a place to stay, and literally pulled up on a job site and offered my services and got hired. And I bounced around a couple of different jobs.
Yeah.
I remember I got fired from one because
What?
I showed up late, and
Oh,
I remember my wife eventually. That might have been round two when I went back after getting married, and my wife scolding me, But anyway, it happens. I've been fired several times, so I know what it's about. So just jobbing around, and then finding my own work, which was roofing, was my specialty. And of course, in Houston, Texas, only fools and I don't know what else, jailbirds do that kind of work. It is a hot house, let me
I,
tell you. It
yeah.
is a hot, humid climate. Winters are pleasant. I would say from late November through April is
Hmm.
very pleasant, rainy and pleasant. And but summer was unbearable, and we would flee back to the East Coast, late July, August for a couple of months. So,
Mm.
but we were there for 4 years after getting married. First time I went, I was there for 3, 4 months, made some money, came back, got married, and then I went back.
Mm.
But hopefully that's an answer.
Yeah, it is. So when you decided to break up on your own, was that in Texas or back on the East Coast?
Texas.
Texas. And
Um,
how did that go? I know we're kind of going way back in time
mm,
here, but there's a lot of contractors and architects who listen to the show, and a lot of
mm,
folks are much earlier in their careers than you. And especially those who are starting off, it's always a question of how the heck do you get
hmm.
going, especially, I don't know if it aligns with your timeline, but especially like you said, when you have other professionals who have been around for a lot longer and are established and da 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 da.
I think it's about just being ambitious and not shy and not afraid to hear no, no, thank you. No, I recall exactly what we were doing for roofing jobs. I would drive by neighborhoods in Houston in the western semi suburbs, shall we say, and when I would see a house where the wood shingles, and they use a lot of them down there.
Hmm.
And when I saw a house that clearly was at the end of its life, roofing wise, I would leave my card in their mailbox.
Hmm.
And I hit a couple. I caught a couple,
Nice.
and that's how it started rolling. So, my advice to architects and builders: uh, don't be shy. Don't be afraid to hear no thanks, and be ambitious. Go find the work you want, or try to. Um, Advertising. Uh, what they say about advertising? Advertising pays. It doesn't cost. That's a phrase I latched onto
Interesting.
way back when.
Yeah.
I think it's wise, but only tasteful advertising. And
Right.
what we do here is let the photographs do the talking. I will. We run ads here regularly in the shelter mags, the local ones, and semi regularly. But again, it's never like braggadocio. It's like look at the photo and
Yeah.
associate us with the constructed building, the
Yeah.
photo of it, and we're lucky that in our high end market here, between the architect, us, when we're asked to participate in the costs of photography, and the owner, we have great photography, and they bring
Yeah.
in some of the finest around.
Yeah.
This job we just finished with Bolin Sawinski up in
Hmm.
Hudson Valley, they brought in a photographer out of Seattle that they work with,
Yeah.
and who's great. I mean, the
Yeah.
photos are amazing. Um, so the people we're involved in were fortunate in that the photography is not just there, but it's great, most of it.
It's a
That's why this. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I agree with you. Photography is a big one, and it's tough because good photographers are quite expensive compared to a lot of other things. But for ourselves, we've had good photographers, and we've definitely had projects where we decided to go a more cost-effective route for obvious reasons. And you always,
Mm-hmm.
in retrospect, like, I kind of wish we didn't do that. Of course, at the time, though, you're like, this doesn't make sense to spend whatever amount of money on a photographer when the fee for the project or the project is so small. But, photos are the only real transferable memory or proof of the project. And, these
Well
projects
said.
take so much work. Even the small ones take a lot of work, and it's kind of a shame to not properly document it through an artist's eye, like the photographer.
Well, when possible, as you say, or affordable, but iPhones do a pretty darn good job these days. My goodness gracious.
That's true.
I mean, come on. I have this iPhone photos in this book, I assure you. And not only that, I got 40, 50-year-old scratchy photos in this book,
Yeah.
things I hung on to that I'm quite proud of. Some of the early black and white photos in this book are very meaningful to me because I
Oh, they're
remember,
wonderful.
you know, being very proud of a particular detail or the way it was done,
Hmm.
and wanting to record it, of course, for history.
Yeah.
So, I agree with you. I mean, sure, sometimes it's not affordable, but that doesn't mean be creative yourself and take some shots or bring somebody who's adept at it into your work because the photos are everything.
Yeah.
I have a builder acquaintance in Manhattan where we've been asked to go a number of times, and I'm not going. I can't deal with doormen, elevators, payoffs. No, it's the rat race. I don't know
Yeah.
how they do it. I
Yeah.
don't know how they do it. But
Um,
anyway, I, I had an acquaintance that was getting started, and he asked me, like, what, how do I broadcast my services? It's all about photography. The more the merrier, the better, the best, the better.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Um, Briefly, I lived in New York for about 7 years, practicing
mm,
architecture, and yeah,
oh boy,
it's a crazy place.
oh boy, oh boy.
I'll tell you a quick story.
Oof.
So after New York, I moved to California, where I'm originally from, and even though I grew
Mm,
up in California, coming back after living in Manhattan, Brooklyn, it was a culture shock, and it drove me nuts how slowly everyone moves in California. And even,
mm,
I'd say professionally, the California architects will hate me saying this, but generally speaking, East Coast architects, especially in the big cities, are way more intense about their work, for sure.
oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
I think that's definitely the case. But anyway,
maybe so.
yeah, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, please.
I was going to say maybe it's the lack of sunshine. Um, no, but I don't know how people do work down there. I really don't. Lumber on top of elevators
Yeah,
going up. I mean, imagine that. I can't. So we've turned down some opportunities that seem lucrative, but not doing it. And we've
yeah,
got plenty going on here. We're
yeah,
this marketplace we're in now in the Hudson Valley area is big.
mm.
One job seems to lead to the other. So anyway, we do our best
Did
and record what we do.
did how did you land your first like full house when you were starting off? Was it for an end
Uh,
user? Was it a spec house? Because I think in the book you might have mentioned you purchased a property or two.
yes, I did mention that. The first whole house beyond, I did a lot of renovation, a number of what I call whole house renovations, where might be an addition to an existing house and then gut the interior, new floor plans, new everything. So that was all but a new building, although
Yeah.
complex in its own right. And then finally, somebody said, "Hey, Dave, we're building a new house." An architect, a British fella here in Connecticut, and his partner named um, Malcolm Robertson and Eric Landers,
Hmm.
uh, both nice people. Um, but eventually, they got me. After working with them for a number of years on renos, they found me a new house construction ground up, which is a walk in the park compared to a lot of the renovation we
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
I loved
yeah,
it. I
yeah,
loved it. I love getting in the ground and laying out the foundation. I was pretty naive. I didn't trust anybody to lay it out as well as I was going to lay it out.
hmm,
And I subsequently learned that there's a lot of people that are better than me and get out of their way. No, I mean foundations, and
yeah,
I didn't trust anybody, and I want to be precise.
yeah,
So it was very inspiring to start building ground up, and frankly, much easier in a lot of ways than remodeling. But most of us have to start with remodeling. We don't fall
yeah,
into 5,000 square foot new homes. You have to earn your way up the ladder. So I tell
yeah,
people you don't get to the 10th floor until you go through 1 through 9.
yeah,
So, but some people are more fortunate, or a lot of builders and some competitors I've had, will buy a piece of land and build a spec house.
hmm,
And now they hire an architect for, like logically to design a nice house. And now they're a builder. Now they have a
right,
portfolio. But I didn't go that route. Eventually, what my wife and I did was buy and renovate houses in New Canaan, all here in New Canaan. Um, I think we've done at least 5 different projects where we move into a house uh, for a year or so, under figure out what would improve it, either by addition or renovation, do so, and then live there for a period of time, 2 to 5 years perhaps, and
hmm,
then sell it
hmm,
and make a little money and move it into the next one and the next one. And there's a capital gains exemption that allows you to um, avoid taxation
right,
on capital gains on your, and that's a good trick for builders and architects,
yeah,
frankly.
yeah,
If you can get the lending to improve your property and sell it for a profit, you can avoid taxation on that capital gain. So that's something I recommend. I did myself multiple times, so I do recommend that. And it's fun to be the producer of your own work. I mean,
hmm,
I say producer, I hire you and I counsel with you, and I'm satisfied by creating this with you, and it's very fulfilling to do renovations on properties you own.
yeah.
Very fulfilling.
I think
Very
also,
fulfilling.
I think also when you're in the driver's seat or the producer's seat, and you have a great analogy
Mm-hmm.
in the book to cinema, which we can
Mm-hmm.
talk about. But when you're in that seat, and you are by day a professional, you're a contractor or an architect, you learn a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and also I think you learn to appreciate more directly some of the pain that clients go through. y- you
Without a
know,
doubt.
like it's
Without
like,
a
oh yeah,
doubt.
that's why you don't want to spend that much money because I feel
Oh,
what it's like
without a
now.
doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. No, and you trying to be careful here. I'm thinking of a couple of specific incidents, but you learn what mediocrity is and
Hmm.
what lack of effort is, and who's putting out and who's not, and whose work ages well, what design ages well.
Mm.
And I've had arguments with architects that I hired, and they're like, Dave, you should trust me here. I think I have a good answer. And I'd be like, what? And I eventually was convinced that they came up with something clever. And I do recommend that, and I say it in the book, to people who are building, who are clients, who are, you didn't go to Pratt, you didn't go to RISD, you didn't go to UCLA. They have an architecture school, I'm sure, right?
They do.
UCLA.
They do.
I bet my daughter graduated
Oh,
from grad school there. But you know, turn when in doubt, which is a lot for a lot of these clients.
yeah.
Turn to your professionals who that's why you hired them. Have faith. If you don't know what color to pick out for a room or how many windows and what height they should be at and how high the ceiling should be in a given room, I mean, as lay people, we aren't schooled in that. So have faith in the designers. The designer has to earn that trust,
Sure.
and usually that's acquired, you know, during the interview process. They're like, "Ooh," and call references and say, "Oh, so and so was very cooperative, very receptive." And something I teach around here, be a good listener. You gotta.
Ooh.
And I counsel the employees here is find out what the client what are they saying,
Mm.
and as well as the client, the architect as well. What are they saying? What do you hear them really want? And so you understand that it might be unclear to us, but the more specific our understanding of what you acting as the client's representative, what do we want? What makes us happy? And again, I tell people here, if they ask a specific question like, "What's the difference between this, shower head and that shower head?" and your answer should be truthful, like, "Oh, I don't know, but I'll find out and I'll get back to you." If you do that, then the client's like, "Oh, they heard me. They understood what I was anxious about."
Hmm.
And thank you for that. I think that kind of customer service from everybody, architects, builders, that's what it's all about, right?
I
Again, another quick analogy, David.
Yeah.
It's I tell people here, when you go out to dinner and you're making an order, is whoever's waiting on you, are they really paying attention when you say, "Oh, by the way, put the salad dressing on the side"? And if it comes on the salad, you're going, "Man,
Yeah.
man, you didn't hear me, did you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's that kind of customer service for all of us in this industry, really every industry, I think is critical to gaining trust and gaining success at the end of it.
I fully agree. And what is perplexing to me is, so I think that how you described is how we operate, or we strive to operate that way. But what's also odd is that we do have, we've all heard stories about contractors and architects and designers on the other side of that spectrum who, their mode of operating and their demeanor seems to be, it's my way or the highway.
Yeah,
I'm the expert.
yeah,
Get out of here. And
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
and oftentimes it's not either or. It's not quite that black or white. But and maybe in
Mm,
some cases, if we're talking about a vacation house, and as a client you're very hands off, and it's more of a just a fun for these wealthy folks, a fun hobby, sculpture artist thing, commission, fine, do it. I don't care. That's
mm.
fine. But if it's a primary residence, I've never understood how any of the professionals could operate that way and have the project, first of all, be enjoyable at all for anybody, and then also be
I,
a success. Like, it's just because these projects take so long that for two,
mm.
3, 4, whatever years, how do you have that kind of relationship that I just described and have it turn out well? I feel like the road, you're just making that marathon way more difficult, and I just feel like the chances of success would be a lot lower.
I totally agree. I haven't had many experiences with, arrogant architects, shall we say, who's like my way or highway.
Yeah.
No, I mean they're out there, right? I think you just referred to that type of person. Um, and I mentioned in this book, I said, if you don't know any better, and you hire somebody, architect or otherwise, and he's like, "Well, show me what you got. I'll take over. I'm going away for a year, and when I come back, I want something." But I think almost every job and the architects we work with clearly have understood the client's needs
Hmm.
and wants. I haven't really had a situation. You know where you get them? I guess I'm going to make some enemies now. Interior designers.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's a lot of
It's
ego
going
and
to be
drama.
blue.
Yeah.
They're. Well, not only that, and here's my pet peeve, and again, I'm going to make a few enemies, or perhaps share some good advice. We've had jobs with designers, interiors. We're like, well, you know what I want. And you're like, exactly how do you want the trim to be around the door? Well, from we sent you a photo a year ago,
Uh,
and just a lack of communication and vagueness. Let me get back on a positive note, but that was couldn't avoid that one because it's true.
yeah.
So I would say all these jobs. I mean, you guys, you're people, you people, architects, you're smart. You're hired to make happen the owner's wishes, and they're smart in that they trust you to come up with clever ideas. Somebody says, "Well, I need storage for 100 pair of shoes." They don't know how. They may have um, a photograph that they tore out of a magazine, but they're entrusting you to come up with something clever. But you heard what they want, and you need to come up come up with something clever. So I don't think we've had any Starkitect arrogance kind of encounters. But that leads me to one comment. I have seen architects, talented ones, back down when an owner will be like, "Well, this shower arrangement's terrible,"
Mm.
and then I've heard architects say, "All right, fine, I won't charge you. Da
Mm.
da da. Dave will fix it." Pointing at me, and
Yeah.
and then I've walked outside with the architect and say, "Listen, you're selling yourself short." It's
Mm.
like telling Martin Scorsese, if you're the producer, "I don't like that scene, man. What were you thinking?"
Yeah.
Hey, this is a skilled professional. He's got a plan. The fact that after the fact that you don't like it, well, that's a situation. But that doesn't mean that the architect should pay for a replacement
Mm.
because the owner commissioned you to create something, and you did. Now, if they don't like it, okay, you'll do it over, but not necessarily for free. And
Yeah.
I've seen architects make that offer. I don't think that's fair, unless it's utter incompetence, which the situation I'm describing was not.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. I think as a species, our profession of architects, we do struggle with standing up for ourselves sometimes, and it creates
Yeah.
just a bad. It bleeds down to it creates this poor cycle within the industry, and it ties to a lot of stuff, other things. For us,
Mm.
I think it's just I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why it happens. I think getting what helps prevent some of these things is, like you said before, that alignment, or making sure that we really understand what the client is after. And sometimes it's not even conveyed through the actual words they use. It's there's subtext
Mm.
to what's going on. And
Hmm.
and I think it's our job and the job of the GCs to, like, sometimes have to extract that information with really good questions.
Yeah.
But it takes effort to do that. You got to care
Very,
to do that.
very true. That's why, like mock-ups, which are
Yeah.
expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll put a line item of sometimes like 25,000
Yeah.
to build a mock-up. The Stonehouse here in this book, the guy built a hut. I mean, you could sleep in it with the veneer, the roof shingles, and the pitch of the roof, and the slate shingles on the roof, and like a doorway. It's beautiful, but it costs money. But it's it's your walkthrough about this is the color, this is the kind of siding we're talking about. What do you think? This is trim details we suggest. Um, how does that work for you? So, of course, in a expensive project, that's it's not a necessity, but it's a highly recommended approach
Yeah.
to provide a mock-up, and even interiors, paint samples
Yeah.
and trim detail setups, and it's not that big a deal, but boy, it's informative. It's professional, I think, to give the client an opportunity to understand more fully what they're going to get.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've seen a lot of situations where, I'm trying to advise all parties on how to avoid, really negative consequences, which I've seen too.
Yeah. I'm
I,
sure.
I, real quick
Yeah.
story. I remember a tearful. This goes pretty far back, but a tearful meeting when a kitchen island slab was dropped down onto an island, a finished constructed island, a large slab, and holding in her hand was a client with a 1 foot square approved sample of the granite. I believe it was granite or limestone, and very different look from the sample.
Oh no.
Hey, and it's like, yeah, and I think her initial reaction was very negative and very upset, and that's understandable. But it's like, how do you avoid that? I can't bring you a 3 foot square
Yeah.
sample that might be $900 or something. Maybe it's worth it, but a lot of these design people, architects, designers, will go pick out slabs, which is a big part of our job here at stone places, and then approve the ones, and that's a smart way to go.
Yeah.
Make sure and pick out themselves, because these are aesthetic questions. And
Yeah.
I bought one of my houses that I own. I remember I bought a piece. I fell for a photograph of Vermont slate, which is a brand name, of a stone that I was going to do a fireplace surround with, small fireplace, where it's one piece and they cut out the opening for the fireplace. It was really handsome. No seams. And this gray piece of beautiful Mother Earth stone shows up with a red squiggle right right through one part of it. And it's like, God did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't ask for the red tracing, but it didn't look bad the more I looked at it. And again, it's nature. So,
Yeah.
but these are important things as we handheld these clients through
Yeah.
these huge projects, and intimidating decision making is awfully difficult for people. That's why you keep it calm, and electrical walkthroughs are overwhelming. And that's, again, an electrical walkthrough. I'm like, listen to your architect. I mean, you're going to walk in the room. Which way does your door swing? Where a logical place for lighting is, or switching, is here. How many outlets do you need? The more, we have code. We have the more the merrier in some cases. Or you have, you're hanging artwork over here. You need lighting here. I mean, an average client needs your help. That's why they hired you.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. They don't necessarily know. They might say, well, I think this, but you might say, I see, I understand what you're saying. I disagree
Yeah.
for this reason.
Here's
And they
5
may
reasons
say,
why
oh, well,
not.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, they might say, well, thank you for that, for being candid. If they're smart, they're listening. They're listening to you.
Yeah.
So, because that's your job.
It reminds me, as you're speaking, is the one of the things about these houses that, and even, we're I think talking about, or I'm visualizing, very large, very complex houses, but even for houses that are smaller and less complex, all these projects involve a massive number of decisions. There's a stat that I had heard from somewhere, and I think they had said that the average house takes about 60,000 decisions for an architect to make, and that is spread across, that number might not apply directly to everyone else, but that number is very high for the GC and equally high maybe for the client, depending on how involved they are. And it's just a lot. It's
You
just a
said it.
lot. And I,
You said it. No, number one thing and biggest cause for delay for when are you going to be done? I'm like, well, when are you going to tell me where you want the stairwell?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
We need to move in by August. Well, I still don't know how big your garage is or where it's going. Or
yeah.
no, absolutely, you touched on the number one controversy in construction. That's why earlier we were talking about Starchitects,
Hmm.
and I'm glad I came back to this. So the exception is probably the board of directors of the UCLA hospital committee. They hire an architect and they're like, deal with it.
Right. Yeah.
They're not the client personally. They're acting on behalf of an entity.
Yes.
So it's not their bedroom wing. It's this general thing. So and they don't know how to design a new classroom or dormitory
Right.
or commercial type building and how it should be constructed or school and the codes that relate to all of those things. And there's where an opportunity for a star architect or someone to say, look, get out of my way. I know what you want. You'll get it. We'll take care of it. I think that's the exception where you want a takeover type architecture situation.
Have you done commercial work, or has it always been residential?
A little bit,
Yeah.
not much really. I think, yeah, I've had clients where we finish their office buildings or
Hmm.
odds and ends. I honestly, personally, think that that's where we're headed eventually. But the commercial builders, it's really a different ilk.
Hmm.
They rely more on general conditions to make profitable some of these projects. Some margins are lower than our
Hmm.
custom, one of a kind home building margins are.
Hmm.
But I mean, eventually, sure, if a talented architect wants us to build a dormitory, for instance, or I've been approached about a small museum in Brooklyn, actually, in
Oh.
Bushwick,
Oh.
years ago. We looked at it, and it was on a postage stamp lot where, again, the logistics of how do you deal with this, or we're just off turning. I'm like, I can't deal with it.
Hmm.
It's not where I do. So, but something like that, I think is around the corner for us, frankly, and we have the skill sets here to certainly tackle that. I don't know if you're familiar with the Grace Farm Church here in New Canaan,
Grace Farm
Connecticut.
Church. Not at the
Man, I'll
top of
tell
my
you
head.
what, look it
Yeah.
up. It is a world class building, in my opinion. It was designed by Sana, the
Oh,
Japanese
yeah, yeah, yeah.
people
Sure.
that won the Pritzker Award. We were deeply involved with that. There was
Oh.
the committee actually went through a couple of different architects with earlier iterations of what they wanted, and eventually hired Sana. And they hired a construction manager out of the city, Frank Siami. I don't know if that name means anything to you, but they they do museum. They're builders. They're contractors. They build lots of significant buildings in Manhattan. So they contacted us out here, and we were one of the subcontractors bidding on parts of the work. But it's an amazing building. They call it the
The,
river, I think it
the
is.
serpent. I think
It's sort of it's a
yeah.
serpentine
Yeah.
snaking down a hill. It's stunning, and the complexity of it was pretty challenging. We didn't end up being involved in the construction, but I had a deep and early look at all the plans. It was fun. It was good to get involved. So yeah, eventually, I'm sure one of those will, or I hope, and I predict one of those will land on us in the near future.
I'm sure, and I have no doubt you guys would execute it at a very, very high level.
And now a little break for our show sponsors. Are you tired of juggling multiple pieces of software and struggling with spreadsheets that aren't made for the realities of design and architecture in 2023? Built by and for designers and architects, Programma's all-in-one suite of tools has everything modern studios need for every stage of a project. Mood boards, the world's best specification tools, procurement tracking, project management, and more. All smartly integrated, easily shareable, and always up-to-date, reducing time-consuming double handling and costly errors. Share your work in various formats, from PDF to client-friendly, up-to-date online dashboards. Join the ranks of leading studios using Programma today. Click the Programma link in our show notes to start for free. This episode is brought to you by Chaos. They make award-winning design and visualization tools, and they're really pushing the boundaries with AI. Now, AI is shaking up the architecture and design world, and Chaos is taking a responsible approach. Their tools are built to help architects, designers, and visualization specialists to work faster and explore more ideas without replacing creativity. Basically, Chaos wants AI to make your imagination stronger, not take over. So you get to design with more freedom, create stunning visuals, and stay in control of your work. If you want to see what that looks like, tap the Chaos link in our show notes.
Dear architects, design leaders, and founders redefining the industry, if you want to shape not only buildings, but the business behind them, this is your moment. Future London Academy's Executive MBA takes you inside the boardrooms of Pentagram, Uber, Zaha Hadid Architects, and Google, where you'll master finance, strategy, and operations from the people who already excel at them. Study along peers transforming the industry worldwide, and do it all in just 9 intensive weeks over 1 year between London and California. The program is award-winning, transformative, and crafted for design and architecture leaders with 15 or more years of experience. If you're ready to grow your impact, apply now by tapping the Future London Academy link in our show notes. You know, you've worked with a lot of different architects over the years, some of them very big names, Toshiko Mori, Stephen Hall, Joe Moore. I mean, the list goes on, right? Aside from the personality and people's skill set, what makes a good architect and aside from design as well, what makes a good architect partner in your mind? Is it this, how important are construction documents? I'm asking as a layperson, let's say. How important is CA? Like, do you want the architect involved during construction? Have you received a set of plans before, a set of construction documents, and it was a lightweight set? And does that make it more difficult for you?
Oh yeah,
yeah, I know. For those listening who don't know these industries, talk us through some of this.
It's a good question, and it's a multi-level answer, I think. So bring me back to it, because I'll float away if you give me a chance. I would say, of course, the better, more thorough the plans, and how involved has a structural engineer been involved. So we have an idea, like, what are we using as far as materials? But I think the quick answer is, I need a partner. You know, we need somebody who picks up the phone when we call and go, well, what was your intention here in this corner of, room 21? How did you envision that coming together? We need someone to say, I'll be there at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Let's go over it. We need an active partner. And, that isn't always available to us. The better, more thoroughly developed the construction prints, drawings are, that's self-explanatory. And that's a dream of a builder like myself. I used to say to people, hand me a set of plans, then hop on your yacht and sail around the world, and give me a set of plans that I can build. I don't necessarily need to know every doorknob or, every bathroom fixture or kitchen sink details, but give me a thorough set of plans that's been reviewed by engineers, structural, civil. But that's a dream. That doesn't happen. And something we hear all the time from clients are, oh, there's not going to be any changes. And like,
Yeah, right.
so yes, there are.
Yeah.
Yes, there are. There's going to be changes. And I encourage you as my client, if you need changes, let's do it. Don't, get what you want. What's the Stones song? You get what you need.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
always get what you want. But but back to being a partner on a construction, the better the plans, the better. And if in lieu of better plans, at least be there on the site with us and help us figure it out on the go. I've done that too.
Yeah.
And again, one of these projects, and I mentioned it in the book, they usually start way too soon.
Yeah.
You got an
Yeah.
anxious client.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to get going. I'd like to occupy it by September 27. Can we get started? So the pressure is on to at least issue a foundation set.
Yeah.
That's a bad sign for us. Like,
Yeah.
uh-oh. And for everyone, really, because what if you're like, oh, man, we should have made a turn here in the foundation or something. It's too late. So I need an active partner that knows what, again, has some answers for us, because that's the biggest boo-boo on a job site, where the plumber shows up and goes, where do you want the sink? And you're like, well, we're waiting for the architect to tell us. That just kills momentum, kills the schedule. At least give us locations, even if we don't know. Well, you got a wall-hung toilet or a floor-mounted toilet, so the more detail and information, basic, that you can provide it. Then be accessible for understanding, for interpretation, and follow-up. And some of our very best, I'm thinking out loud about one particular firm we work for here. His project managers are great. They're just really smart guys and low key, don't rattle. Get back to us with the answers. Really skilled people. So depending on the size of your firm, the better people you can find. It's all about their employees and being participants in the job and being helpful.
Yeah.
And I know we hear it a lot here. I listen to the project managers here, and I ask them, like, how's it working for so and so? Oh, they're great, Dave. This guy's terrific, and he's always available to us. And we'll follow up with answers like we talked about earlier. Somebody asks you a question, and they get back to you, and they say, that tells me they're listening to us. They understand our needs. So. Is that a good answer? Did I get it? Did I cover it pretty well?
Is that a good answer? Yeah,
Good.
yeah, for sure. I mean,
the more the merrier.
I mean,
one last comment, David. Like, I've reached this point in my career, I don't want to think. And that sounds cynical, but early in my career, I would make suggestions where people would look at me and go, and then I realized, like, look, it's not my job to suggest where the outlet should be in the room. I mean, it's fine to participate if you're needed, but at this point, the less we have to think on our own. Like, well, what do you think he intended here?
Right.
The better, from our standpoint, makes our job easier. Like the plumber walks in and he said, how am I laying out this bathroom? And when you could tell them, toilet, sink, shower over here, let's lay it out. And our people will do that all the time. And then but so the less we have to, that's your job. You're the one making most of the layout decisions, and we'll help you. We'll certainly work with you and make suggestions based on, this didn't work out or this didn't work out, of course. But the builder, most builders, most tradesmen, they want to walk on a job and follow a plan.
Yeah.
They want to see, okay, I'm told this, that, this thing, this, that. So
Yeah, no, it makes
Okay, I'm
sense.
done. I'm done.
That makes complete sense. And I appreciate the thing you highlighted too is that a lot of these projects start way too soon.
Oh,
And,
they do.
and, we try to impress upon our clients and other folks who sometimes we don't work with, but we end up acting as a kind of consultant to coach them through things, is that
Mm-hmm.
when you go along this project and you're in the design and documentation phases, when you get toward the end of that, you're going to get anxious and you're going to want to start building, which is totally understandable.
Yep.
But the way
Yep.
the game works is that if you spend a little more time and then sometimes also money upfront sooner, you actually save a lot of time and money later on. And it's the same,
Very true.
and that principle applies to documentation. It's like you want to let your architect spend the X months it takes to do a full and good construction document set within reason, and then the builder can just fly. And
Yeah.
it's just so much easier and less stressful also.
You led me right into the concept of pre-construction,
Oh,
which
yes. I love it. Let's hear it.
you led me right into it. And that's most of the jobs we do here, we're hired. Okay, so so I call it a negotiated bid.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, Dave, we're 90% we're going to go with you, and okay, that's good enough. And we leave the back door open on that. We'll charge you typically a relatively modest fee to work alongside your architect as the plans are being developed. So it starts with a tentative budget. You show me a tentative plan, and we'll say, well, we'll make logical assumptions and allowances for the things that are easy to do so. Plumbing fixtures, kitchen, and total cabinets, whatever, appliances. And then the construction, we'll do a cursory review and the building and how much a square foot for shingle roof, tile roof, this, that, siding, tentative budget based on experience estimation here. We don't rely on books or anything because for a number of reasons, most of these jobs are one of a kind. So it's not relevant what roofing costs in southwestern Ohio or whatever.
Yeah.
They're all.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not putting down Ohio. It's just
No, it's the costs
this
are
part of the
different.
country.
Yeah.
Yeah, this part of the country is unique and its cost, just like where you are, Los Angeles area. I know it's similar, expensive, the tradesmen and so on. So then the first budget goes back, and the owner goes, "Ooh, or this is fine. I need more clarity." And you're working along, going, "Hey, we've picked out the basic tile or flooring we're going to use, and we're going to use plaster in lieu of sheetrock." And so now you're giving us more specific information, and now we can give you specific costs. So we're building a budget that's realistic. It may not be something that isn't subject to change. Most likely, it's what we call cost plus, which I hate it myself. I'm old school. I like a lump sum, shake hands, no crying later, or minimal crying later.
Minimal, great. Yeah.
Oh, we've had clients go, "Hey, you put down 10,000 for this, and I know you got it done in 5 hours, so you made too much money here." We're like, "Well, geez,
Well, that's
we
the
had a
nature of
reason
fixed
for
fee,
that."
though. I mean, that's the best,
Yeah, we get that too. But so cost plus is not the majority of the jobs we do here. So, but they're based on invoice costs.
Right.
So you see the bill from the lumberyard, the tile supplier, the framer we hired. But in the meantime, we have shown you open invoices or open proposals along the way. Like we got an estimate here from the landscaper to do what's on the landscape architect's plan, including or not including planting, hardscape, what have you. And here's our plan. And we like this guy. And we got a second estimate, which, we're commonly asked to do. And this is a lower or higher bid. And our preference is one of these two. And we worked from there. And the owner's sitting at the table, or certainly his representatives, an owner's rep, an architect, speaking on their behalf. And your feedback. So now we're building towards a more realistic budget based on actual costs. It might fluctuate a little, but that's a twofold advantage to the owner. Well, I shouldn't say twofold. The prices could end up being higher because of changes along the way, and that's not uncommon. Or it might get lucky once in a while, and we thought that we could get the roofing done for 50 grand or 100,000, but we ended up hiring so and so, and came in under budget.
Yeah.
And here's the invoice, and that's money we're not charging you. So, cost plus the way to go. It's a ton of paperwork and accounting work for us, and dangerous because sometimes you make an inadvertent mistake, and the lumberyard bill includes something from another job, and it's dangerous in that we don't want people to not trust us, that we're trying our hardest. But it's a ton of work. That's why I say personally, I'd rather take the risk of being a little higher or a little lower with our estimates, agree on a lump sum, and move on, and then change orders or change orders. So anyway, so that's pre-construction. I call it a negotiated bid. And again, the owner can pay the contractor over 6 months hourly or a lump sum or 1% of the job or whatever seems to be agreeable. And then at the end of it all go, you know what, thank you so much. We're going to go out to bid, or a new builder called and they want to look at it too. It doesn't happen very often to us, I'll be honest, but it could happen, and it's a risk we take. And we're like, okay, fair is fair. That's what the agreement was. And then more often, what we'll do is like, hey, we agreed on billing you for X, Y, Z for pre-construction. If you go to contract, we'll either waive half of that fee or give it all back or take it all. So we've done all three.
Yeah.
Sometimes to incentivize. We don't want to do pre-construction on jobs that don't interest us or we're not going to do. We only want to jump into projects that we are enthused about and likely will be hired. So we're not bidding engineers. So that's how it works here for the most part.
Yeah.
Negotiated bid.
I love it. It makes sense. I'm a huge proponent of pre-construction services. And actually, at this point, I tell new clients that I won't work with them unless they hire a GC for pre-con.
Yeah.
I won't do it. To your point, because I have no interest in working on a project that doesn't get built. And it happens more often than not, generally in our industries. And a big part of it is because there, I know you know this. I call it the traditional method is that a client hires an architect and a designer maybe, or if they're one of the same, one office, whatever. They go through months and months and months of designing this amazing, cool thing. Only after that long period of time and all that money spent on these professionals to bid it out, and then the bids come back, first of all over the map, and then secondly, way too high. And it's not good for anybody.
No, I've been there a lot, actually. It's it's a tough one for you people because, and again, the client will say, well, didn't you know what this is worth? And your likely response is, well, not exactly. I mean, I'm not a builder, and I've never used this type of system that you requested that we use or investigate, whatever that is. And I need feedback to get to know what that would cost. And, and you're adding landscape to our program and what's that involved and so on. So, you're smart. And again, that back door, I think that's the key to convincing your client to do that. Say, look, we should pay this guy if he asks for money, which I think a reputable builder will ask for.
Agreed.
We should pay this guy, but at the end of the program, or even in the beginning, you might say the owner might pull you aside and go, "Yeah, I don't like him or her."
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, okay, fine, let me try somebody else, and maybe we have to pay him. And I think there's plenty of builders. Quite honestly, we've done it. We'll do the work without charge because the project's very appealing to us. But if an owner or a client in your case balks at paying a smart builder
Yeah.
for price information, then that's a bad sign to you too.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's a red
well, wait a
flag.
minute,
Yeah.
you're pinching pennies already. I mean, I got to hire a structural engineer as well. I got to hire a civil engineer to get through building inspection
I think
and get a
also
permit.
there's a misunderstanding that it's easy to put together a good construction cost estimate for a custom house, and it's not easy. And it takes time.
No, of course not.
Of
course not. And I don't know if I actually wrote an article that got published a couple of years ago about building new houses, and I'm like, don't do it. It's just it's about regulation, which I'm sure you and your listeners appreciate how much regulation there is, just making it harder and harder and more expensive to do ground up.
Yeah.
It's I mean, townships, and now we're recharging water into the ground, and the setbacks are getting closer, and regulation's really cutting into our industry and making it more and more difficult. Now, is this for the greater good of your community? I suppose so, but still doesn't make our work any easier. So, for that reason, I recommend tear downs and remodeling as a good way to go, because you're over some hurdles. You're not in the ground. You're not drilling wells. You're not building septic systems. You have something to start with, and now get creative about the box on the foundation. Figure it out. So, it's cheaper in many ways.
Let me ask, talking about costs over the course of your 50 some odd year career, how has construction costs changed? I mean, obviously it's gone up, and a lot of people are like, oh, why is it so expensive? Why has it gone up? And is it the materials? Is it the labor? Is it the complexity of the jobs? Is it like what? And how much of a change have you seen? Like if you like a house that you build now, how much would it cost to build that same house, 30 years ago?
Good question. I guess you could put it side by side with how much would it cost to buy a 4-door sedan made by Chevrolet in 1975 versus 2025. I think it's probably similar kind of inflation. Our particular area, this is an expensive area to live. So tradesmen here are likely going to charge more for their hourly services than they would in lesser expensive parts of the country in terms of living costs. But, the general answer is wood products. I mean, we can all chart the inflationary trends in all kinds of building products, wood, steel, masonry, etc. I don't really have a handle on it, David, to be honest with you, and it's a very difficult thing to understand. But again, I think it's side by side with general inflation in the world. To buy a house back in 1975 versus today, you hear the stories like, Grandpa bought this house for $68,000, in Valencia, California, in 1978, and now it's worth $780,000. How do you account for that? I saw a trend here in New Canaan starting back. I don't know when we got here, 1980 or so. It started with the McMansion had 3 or 4 bedrooms, was 5,000 to 6,000 square foot, and was selling for $1,100,000. And then 4 years later, the typical McMansion blueprint was 4 to 5 bedrooms, 2 car garage, maybe 3 car garage with something new, a sunroom, um, finished basement or something. Now that went to 1.7. And then 4 years after that, they'd add a new feature, whatever, a screen porch or 4 car garage or what have you. And now it's 2.3. And it just logically, incrementally kept getting more and more expensive. And then along about 2007, boom, everything slowed way down. 2008, 2009, that crushed a lot of economy across the country, and in particular construction. People suddenly, the high end clientele was not building new houses during that time period for a variety of reasons. Trendingly too expensive costs. Also, I think people were being frugal and trying to keep a low profile rather than looking grand and ostentatious at a time when people were struggling.
Yeah.
So exactly how to rationalize it all, I don't have an answer other than it's just following along with the cost of living about everything, about eggs, but it's specifically it's about building
Yeah.
materials and cost of living, where tradesmen need to make a living to afford to buy or rent and go to work, buy a truck,
Yeah.
buy tools. So it's basically following the cost of living trends in the U.S.
What was the most challenging project you've taken on?
That's easy, actually. They're all, a number of these in the book were really tough. And I want to take this opportunity to tell you how it happened. I got some great people here. Let me tell you. The one thing I'll take pride in is I'm a good coach. I'm a good team builder. I'm a good general manager. I found these people, and some found me, and I support them and turn them loose. Like that whole project in the beginning, I'm like, what the hell is this? I don't know how we got involved. I do, but I won't bore you with the details. But then I was like, what? It's a 45-degree sloped hill, and you're having a viewing platform, and it's got 2 columns coming out of the ground. It's like, how, we had a whole back of hill. It was, there were 72 piles
Wow.
put on this site to hold back the earth, to cut the hole for the foundation. In fact, there was one steel I-beam that was holding up the wall that were holding back the earth, and we had to leave it in the foundation. Couldn't get it out. It had to be poured in, and then seriously, and cut on the exterior. That was really hard. It really was. And, it's interesting. My project manager was I think she was then about 30 or 32 years old, an RPI graduate, 5 foot tall, freckled, petite young woman with a brain like this big, who she still works for us. She's hearing this now, and she's mad at me. But I had 2 female project managers, and another really brilliant RPI grad was our job supervisor, and then a gentleman here in the office, an experienced builder, was involved with everything. But that was a very challenging job. If you look at the photos, you have concrete above glass. When do we do that? Cantilevered concrete with a window underneath. Like, how, why, and better be done right. So,
Is that the Stephen Hall?
but
Is that the Stephen Hall
it
house?
is.
It is? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's the first house in the book.
Yeah.
But again, a good architect participant, they're great. They were really fun to work with. But they had engineers clear everything. So we would set up the rebar and did we do it right? We want someone to sign off because not something we do every day. So, but we had all of that support with engineers and regular reinforcement from the whole team. One fellow in particular named Marcus Carter. What a star he is.
I love it.
Anyway,
I love
great
it.
guy.
That's
Smart
funny.
fellow.
Yeah, when I went through the book, when I saw that project, I'm like, this must have been not easy to build. High stress.
Terrifying.
High stress. Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrifying. Really was.
We're almost.
In fact,
Yeah, go ahead. No, please.
Go ahead, David.
No, please.
I just wanted to wrap up that the glazing, some of it was curved.
Of course.
And the glazing came out of Los Angeles.
Oh.
And several people, when I don't recall the name of the manufacturer, but several people from here had to go out there, review shop drawings, and it was challenging. Again, there's a radius piece of glass that was a new one for us. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say that we're actually almost at the hour or the half hour here, and the time flew by. I feel like we could keep talking for the next 3 days. But I have a final question. We always like to ask it, and that is, what is your favorite building? And it doesn't necessarily have to be one that you've participated in.
Oh, good question. I stumbled on a Frank Lloyd Wright church in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. It's a Greek Orthodox church where there was no 90-degree angles in the entire building. At least that's what it was represented to me. Amazing building. I mean, it blew my mind. Never seen anything like that. Again, a Greek Orthodox church had a concrete dome.
Oh, yes.
Apparently, that's normal for a Greek Orthodox church, that was sitting on top of a concrete walls with ball bearings, allowing the concrete slab to move and contract. They weren't ball bearings like little round things. They were long, 12-inch long,
like discs,
threaded rods. They were movable. I was fascinated by the radius, and the floors were slightly curved or slanted, and all the pews in the church were slightly askew. It just really woke me up. So I'd say that, and there's a bunch of these here, honestly, that are just fun. The Toshiko Mori buildings up in the Ghent, New York, with the multiple buildings. I mean, I was just pointing it out to my helper here, Nicole. There's one photo of a glass box sitting on a rock, cantilevered over space, and you're like, what the hell is that? And obviously there's a foundation underneath. It was made obscure on purpose, probably for aesthetics. But you look at it, you go, how the hell?
But you did that.
Cool as hell.
but you were the GC.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I've got very talented team here. I am the organizer and the general manager and the coach, but I have some great players.
Do you guys work on the West Coast ever?
Yeah, I had a brief time where a former employee named Andrew Friedman, I mentioned this in the book, he moved out to Portland, Oregon, for family reasons, but he was such a great talent here. I was like, you're not going anywhere without me. I really admired this guy. And so he moved out to Portland. I said, what are you going to do? He goes, I don't know. I got to get a job. So I said, well, let's start a little company, Prutting Portland or whatever. And For 3 or 4 years, I was supportive of him, trying to get his traction as a builder there, and worked with some great architects out there. I mentioned Ben Wechter,
Okay.
very talented guy. And what impressed me about the Portland market was there's no money, not like here. This is the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
So, you got $150 a square foot back then to design a cool house. Well, that rules out a whole lot of stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can't afford this, can't afford that. Don't even think about slate or don't think about that. And so these budget conscious designs were like, wow, I remember losing jobs. We didn't have the portfolio to win jobs as a higher bidder, but losing jobs over like $4 a square foot and stuff, like, wow, this is not what I'm used to here.
Yeah.
So I think that really makes you guys, the design world, you got to know your stuff. You got to cut and splice to shape the budgets, at least that were active back then. So I thought that market would be a great starting place for a lot of designers. Like, well, and then when they get a budget to work with, they're like, wow, I mean, I can put a slate roof on this house. I've always wanted to, or I can use engineered lumber, which we jump up and down about it. I mean, that's the way to go. If the client doesn't want nail pops or what like flatness, which the modernists do, of course, and use engineered lumber, but it's like 2-3 times more money. But we think it's worth it. At least do bathroom walls with it, interiors, petitions, the perimeters where you're nailing plywood on the outside. You don't need it, but inside, try and use it where you can.
Yeah.
So I think I answered that. Yeah, I like Portland. It was down and dirty, and get it done and do the best you can. But we're not overpaying.
Yeah.
So that was then. Not sure what it's about today, but probably similar.
I don't know much about Portland, but I do appreciate what you're talking about. When the budgets are tight, the
got to get creative.
Yeah, it actually takes a lot of creativity to produce good things that don't cost a lot of money.
Sure do. And then you got to sell them on like, look, you don't have the budget for 8,000 foot or an 800 foot living room.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to double. You don't have the budget for in-suite bathrooms. We'll design a clever shared bathroom between 2 or more bedrooms. And again, that puts the pressure on you guys. Come up with something smart. Make it simple. Stack your plumbing. Make it builder friendly. Logical things, rational things in construction. Again, maybe you sit down with a good builder and go, hey, how do we make this heating cooling system work easier or cheaper? I don't want to bring in a mechanical engineer who's going to design a Mercedes-Benz and my client's going to freak out.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these engineers, a legit criticism is with structural and mechanical type engineers is overkill.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
They're not going to get sued. So the steel I-beam is going to be 2 inches taller than minimally required because they want to be safe. I get it, but somebody's paying for that. So where you can be smart and a little more frugal, it's going to save the client money and hopefully get you a better job.
That's a good point. I think it's about having the right partners, and also, it's hopefully the architect involved intuitively has some sense of structure. I was at a job site the other day, not my own. I was touring it, and it was way over engineered. And I'm like, you guys, the client's spending tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even more, on the stuff, and it's just not needed. And the GC knew it, but the architect didn't know it. I'm like, but it's pretty clear. Like, what are we doing? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, an engineer
I,
can really, end up costing a lot more if they're not
oh, you
good.
got to tell them, say, uh, give me a damn good four-door sedan that works. It's
Yeah,
got
yeah,
the heat works, windshield wipers work smartly. We don't have room for the upgrades, or lay it out as an upgrade. I can give you
right.
a better boiler or point of use boiler or whatever. Made me think about something else I want to mention, but so I've enjoyed this, David.
Yes, likewise. It flew by. Thank you so much for making the time on what are we, a Friday? We're a
Of
Friday.
course. Yeah, it's Friday.
A Friday.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dave, so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening to our episode this week. If you'd like to support the show, a great way to do that is to leave a review of it in the Apple Podcast app. You can also find us on Spotify and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram as well. Our handle is Second Studio Pod. And if you have any guest suggestions or topics that we should talk about or questions you want answered, then you can DM us on there, or send us a message to our hotline, which is 213-222-6950. So you can send a text message or call and leave a voicemail. We also have a website, which is secondstudiopod.com. And we appreciate you guys listening, and we have a lot more fun stuff up ahead. Thanks. Bye.